Decorating Pages is a podcast dedicated to taking you behind the scenes of the designs of your favorite TV shows and films. Each episode, I'll be sharing design stories from some of Hollywood's most famous sets. Interviews from set decorators, production designers, directors, and actors about creating the look of TV and film, about their design inspirations, and stories that take sets from page to screen. Hello, and welcome to Decorating Pages. I'm your host, Kim Wanup. Last month, I was honored by being nominated for an Emmy for Outstanding Production Design for Half Hour for our work on the final season of VEEP. It's such a huge honor, and having been nominated before, I can genuinely tell you that it really is an honor just to be nominated. Being voted for your work by your peers is overwhelming. It's a great little roller coaster ride of emotions, and I'm not going to lie, it's disappointing to lose, and you don't really realize how great it was to be nominated till you lose. I think because there's still hope up until that second that your name isn't called. The process of the nomination till the Creative Emmys is about 2 months long, from the time you are nominated till the time of the awards. In that time, there are some celebrations. One is when you get your nomination certificate at the Academy, and that's pretty cool. I decided to celebrate this nomination by going back and talking with production designer Jim Gloster about VEEP. We are going to specifically talk about the run of the show that he had, the finale of the show that he prepped for. We talk about how he took over the show, moving from art director to production designer, how the show transitioned from Maryland to Los Angeles for the California tax credit, and obviously how much he loves working with me. One thing that comes up that we start to talk about is we describe what happens when a set goes wrong. It was one of the worst 3 hours of my professional career. The stress was awful, and it broke my spirit for a while, and it still bugs me. But it's important to describe how we fix the problem that many designers and decorators are confronted with during the design process. I miss working with Jim already. He's about to take over the show Billions next month in New York City for season 6, and I wish him all the best of luck. So I hope you enjoy. Hi, Jim.
Hi, Kimberly Wanup. How are you?
Good. How are you, Jim Gloster? I miss you.
I'm great. I miss you too.
I guess I'm never going to work with you again. You're a big-time designer now working in New York City for your next project. So
yeah, I know.
Yes.
It's exciting.
Congratulations on that, taking over Billions.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, season 5.
Wow. Season 5 already. Man.
I know.
It's going.
Yeah.
And you'll be in New York City for that?
I will, for apparently around 10 months. So, yeah.
So you're king of locations at this point, because when you did VEEP, even the first couple seasons, you were on location in Maryland, and then.
Oh, when you say king of locations, you mean working other than my hometown?
Yes. Working out of town, really.
Yes, I am.
How was it changing from Maryland to LA when you had to move with the show?
Well, Baltimore, we were in a huge warehouse, which was not a soundstage. But I mean, it was really big, and it was not actually in Baltimore. It was like 20 minutes south of Baltimore in Columbia, Maryland. And so none of that scenery was built to be taken down and to move.
Right. It's like a piece of IKEA furniture. Really,
exactly.
You build it, and it's you can't move it once you build it.
Exactly. It's meant to stay that way.
Yeah.
So when we got it to LA, of course, the stages were much narrower, so we had to redesign the whole set to fit on the Paramount stages. And the Baltimore crew, as lovely as they were to work with, they were not necessarily happy that they were losing the show. So when we opened all of the containers of the scenery in LA, the first sign that they put in there said, "Sorry, it wasn't meant to be moved."
Yeah, they knew it. They knew it.
They did. They did. I think they did. I don't think they sabotaged it anyway, but I think that they did.
Because most
did
of
their best to take it apart.
Most of their
and
walls,
then they would write some other signs for just messages for the crew in LA, like, "Hey, LA, at least we have a football team too."
Oh.
And,
they were a little sour, let's say.
A little bit, maybe a little bit, and understandably so,
because the walls were what, 12 foot tall, and the containers were only 8 foot. I mean,
I think
you literally cut down the walls in half to get them to ship them almost.
Yes, so there was a lot of plaster work to be done when we got the set to LA and all put back together, and it was just this huge jigsaw puzzle, basically.
Yeah.
But, in the end, it went together really well. And actually, I think the set served the show better in LA just because we had these huge, long hallways, 170-foot hallways.
They love to walk and talk.
Walk and talk, so yeah. So yeah, I think it worked all for the better. But, this was my first show. I mean, I had done one show as an assistant art director, semi-pro with Will Ferrell in LA, but that's the only time I had worked there. So, and coming to LA, it was all new everybody. It was new showrunner, new producers, new decorator, new construction, new art director. I mean, I was like a kid at his first day at a new school.
It's like you changed schools, but it was still your school kind of thing.
Exactly.
Like everyone changed but you kind of deal.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. Everyone changed but me and the gaffer and wardrobe, I think, were the only people.
And the AD, Dale. Dale, right?
Yes, Dale. Dale came. And then Bo, one of the cameramen.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Bo was in Baltimore. And then Karen, Julia's makeup person, or hair person.
Which is, it seems like, oh, that's a lot of people. It's really not. I mean, we're probably like 100-person crew, maybe?
Right.
Aroundabouts. So.
Oh, yeah, I would think, at least.
Bringing like 7 or 8 people, it's not a lot. It's not.
No.
But those, your key element to like thread everything through, which was so important, because we too had, I think it was 16 32-foot containers of set dressing, or 30. Or was it 32 containers? I forget. But that my crew started a month before I did, and unpacked all of these containers just full of dressing. And I found that the crew that packed it up was actually pretty generous in packing everything pretty well for us. There wasn't much of like a key to like figure everything out. We did, I think, most things by pictures when we had to redo the sets, but they did a pretty good job packing it up, and it was a lot of lamps. It was a lot of shades.
A lot of stuff. Do you remember that Stage 7 looked like the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark?
It was Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was so much set dressing. It took up 2 sound stages when we laid it all out. And then little by little, once you had the Oval Office, we put everything back in and piece by piece, and then it sort of, disappeared a little bit. And then we never got to build the EEOB until the last episode of the series, which we were told we'll never see that again. And so we put a lot of it in a container and shipped it out to Ontario to sit in the heat for 3 years.
Right.
Who knew that we would need it again? But
and then we didn't really need it because it didn't end up in the final episode anyway.
No, we didn't really need it. But I worked really hard and I spent a lot of money redoing that office for Jonah. Unfortunately, no one saw it. I'm gonna put a picture on the site of what it finally looked like. So.
Oh, I think you should.
Yeah,
I think you should.
At least
because in Baltimore we had to buy every bit of stuff because there's no rental houses there. So,
and beautiful pieces and antiques and just gorgeous pieces of furniture, real craftsman-made furniture, nothing shitty. So it came with like an antique store almost of dressing.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Beautiful pieces.
And, I think the move to LA, since we changed showrunners, and Armando did such a wonderful job creating the show and carrying it through those first 4 seasons in Baltimore. And then it was kind of nice that the show got a completely different outlook, shot in the arm kind of thing when it started season 5. So I think it helped the show in terms of its journey through its 7 seasons.
I think too it not that it was stale at all, but it definitely freshened up, like a new approach or a whiff of something new there that he gave to the show. And I mean, we're talking about Dave Mandel, who is just crazy genius, I'd have to say.
No, I agree. I mean, I think I've not met anyone who's unhappy with the finale of the show and how the show ended up and where it got taken. I mean, I think people were not saddened, but maybe disheartened a little bit that she was, as corrupt as she was.
Yeah.
But she was the whole time, really.
Yeah.
She's not a good person, Selena Meyer.
And basically to everyone. And it's just how he demonstrated that she could even turn on Gary so hard.
Right.
Just and that scene in the last episode of her in the Oval Office alone is great.
Right.
And we were there. I luckily came in for that last shot, and they really held it for a long time when they filmed it. It's cut down in the final. I mean, obviously they can't, but they really held it where she really took a minute to sit there. Yeah. And it was like, oh, while watching them film, it was like, oh man, what have you done? What have you done to yourself? You're alone. You had a bunch of assholes that followed you, and you're still alone.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, he really nailed it. I would never have pictured that. I would never have, thought of that scene.
No, of course, and that's wondering the whole time while we're shooting season 7. It's like, where is this going? What's going to happen?
Yeah, we had no idea. Yeah. We had no idea really because I think by episode 2, we shut down in VEEP style for I think a week and a half or 2 weeks, and they threw out the whole B story, and they started over, and it was like, so whatever we had filmed, we only had half.
Right, exactly. We had to reshoot the whole B story.
Played catch up sort of scene by scene the rest of the season, so it was hard for us to figure out where the story was going because that story was gone and then it was just pieced together. And I think at the end they did a lot of the Jonah story. I think in episodes 6 and 7 we really did more Jonah to get that aired in episode 1.
Right, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So
when you throughout the series, what's been your favorite character to design?
Well, Selena,
yeah.
I mean, and mainly because we designed for her more than anybody else, whether it's the Oval, whether it's her new offices or her old offices or, where she is. I mean, my favorite designs probably in the show were when we went to other countries, like turning Baltimore into Helsinki and turning LA into Tbilisi, Georgia. I mean, that was just...
It was great.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I mean, and I discovered, a new research tool in Airbnb. You can go on there and find people rent houses in Tbilisi, Georgia, and you can go there and see what it looks like. And when I research something, I like to get all in and kind of bombard myself, and then I turn away from it and let it go and try to give it enough time that the actual images are out of my head, so I'm not copying something, and then I just let my creative whatever take over and start the design process from there.
And it's a quick process, I must say.
Oh, it's a very quick process, especially on VEEP.
It's about a day.
Sometimes a day. Sometimes it's less than a day.
Yeah. I think with that Tbilisi apartments that we did on stage, I think maybe it was like 3 or 4 days at least.
Yeah, I think so.
Because it was a build, so they had to build it. And then the dress, I know that I had a minute to do that, which was nice. Because we got into the layering and the wires and the wall, and you had, the aging on the walls and the wallpaper torn. And, we had a minute to actually really get dirty with that set, which was great.
Yeah. It's nice to have some time, but also sometimes, when we have to just shoot from the hip, it's we get in there and do it without thinking about it, and sometimes it's even better.
Yeah, that's true. That's true
Yeah.
because then you're not in the way of like, oh, it has to be like this.
Right.
Because sometimes you try so hard to like, especially when doing the green room or the red room, for me, it's like, oh, I really want it to be this. I really want it to be this, and you're like, I don't have time for it to be like that. So
Right.
what can I do to have that feeling, but it has to be different.
Correct. Yeah.
So we ran into
'Cause
that a lot.
you can't always find the perfect piece when you know what it is in your head, but sometimes it's just not out there. So you gotta improvise.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I want to go back just for a second for the beginning of VEEP when you transitioned from art director to designer. So you were on the pilot as an art director.
Correct. I did the pilot as the art director, and then went away to do other shows as an art director, working for Clayton Hartley, who was the production designer for the pilot. And he's the guy who came up with the whole EEOB, all of those sets. And then season one, another designer took it on, and then I jumped on season two to start designing the show.
Design.
Yeah.
How do you, aside from talking of VEEP though, how do you like that transition? Like, because I know that there's many art directors who jump into production designing, but but it is usually like a show. Oh, I've been on this show for a season or so, and then I'm bumped up because the designer left. But they handed it to you as a designer, pretty much. I mean,
Right.
you'd only done one episode, so
Right.
how was that scary?
It was terrifying. Yes, I was terrified. I mean, I really was. It was, I lost actual sleep. I think, worrying about the design, all of that, and taking care to plot everything out, and then basically I was not really able to show what I had to the showrunner, so I requested, a meeting, which meant they had to fly me to L.A. From Baltimore to set up this meeting, and when I got there, I laid out all the stuff, all of the boards, all of the wallpaper samples, the colors, the research, and all that on this table. And I'm waiting for Armando to come in, and a PA comes in and says, "We're having lunch here. We got to move all this stuff."
So
Then I have to pick up all this stuff and run it into another room, and it's all unorganized and whatever. And he comes in, and we basically talked for about 10 minutes, and then I got on a plane and flew back to Baltimore. So that, but it helped a lot because all I needed to know was I was on the right path with all of this.
well, there you go.
Yeah. So have I told that story already?
No, I was thinking of that story the other day, and I think it's so Hollywood. I think it's so like you prep and prep and prep, and then they're like, "Hey, we gotta have lunch here, man. Get your shit up and go." Like it's such a great story of like you're being flown in, you're being wooed, kind of in a sense, or you're trying to woo them, and then you're like, "Oh man."
I
Like,
know, man.
oh, man,
Geez,
yeah, I'll move
like,
over.
really?
What are you bringing in? Like Mendocino
This is where
Farms?
I am on the totem pole, right? I mean, this is where I am on the hierarchy. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Is
lunch
it pizza
first,
day?
then production designer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry to say, I think it's really funny, so I'm glad you told it again. So, but yeah, it just goes to show you whenever you think, cool.
Right.
You know?
And that was for the first rendition of the West Wing, where we
Wing.
didn't have an oval, where we still needed lots of hallways and things, but it was a smaller version of what we did with the West Wing. And I will say that when Armando finally got to Baltimore and he walked on to take a look at that set for the first time, he saluted me and said, "This is exactly what I wanted."
Well,
So
that's
that was
awesome. Well, there you go. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Now, how many times did you go to DC to do research and look at offices and such?
Well, to be honest, I never went to the Oval. I never went to the
Right.
West Wing. I never got into either of those places. So that was all that was all research from the internet, basically, and books and things like that. For season 6, before that, I requested. I said I want to go see these congressmen's offices. So I did get to go see the Cannon Building and a bunch of the congressmen's offices. Nancy Pelosi's office, whose bathroom is in Jonah's office, actually. We went to senators' offices. So that was really, really helpful because just to be able to go in there and just see what the real thing was, and then do our own kind of flavor with it. And, but just to see how pedestrian a lot of it is and how, sloppy a lot of these guys are.
So
how,
it's really not cool. It's
no,
such a letdown.
It's not pretty. It's not.
Because I think it was season 5. Didn't Mendel go, or the writers went, and we got to use their pictures too?
That's correct. Yes, they did. And I made a request. Hey, can I go too? And they're like, no.
And we always said, like, if anyone should go.
Yeah, I would be the guy who really needs to go.
Yeah, yeah. There must be something in your background, Jim. They wouldn't let you in.
That's true. Yeah, I couldn't pass the background test, exactly.
But because I know we had your pictures for the congressman and their little meeting room and everything and all the hallways. But I do remember other pictures of offices and that we went off of also, because I think that was one of the things that you nailed into me and what the show really is. It is the realism and capturing that it's dirty and there's wires and there's plugs and it's not pretty. The only thing I ever tried to make pretty was the oval.
Correct. And I think the oval does need to have a certain class to it and a certain, prettiness to it. I agree with that wholeheartedly. But yeah, everybody else's offices, they're just offices, right? And,
yeah.
They cram as many people in those offices as they can because it's not a huge space. So yeah, that reality. I tell the story of in Baltimore when the DP, called for me to come on set and he was just a little bit upset that there were some scratches and stuff on the wall and we needed a scenic painter to come and clean that up. And I looked at the scratches on the wall and I said, hey man, we did those.
Yeah. That's real.
That's a scenic job right there that we did to put scratches on the wall so it didn't feel like it was too pristine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, we're not painting over
that. and which is what you strive for.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think one of the great sets that you designed was Jonah's campaign office from season...
Oh, the New Hampshire campaign office.
Yeah, which was the old drugstore.
Yes, yeah.
So many layers, so much grime and dirtiness in there, which was great. And Scenic was in there for a long time.
They were in there for a long time, but they did exemplary work. Yeah. That was season 5.
Yeah.
I think that everybody was a little worried that we overdid it.
Yeah, but it didn't. When you saw it on camera, it didn't.
No, it didn't at all.
In person, it
wasn't
looked
too
gross.
Theatrical.
It looked gross and this is really down. But
right.
Once it's lit and you're in it, it looked great. I mean, it's a phenomenal set. It was great.
Yeah,
it was great. It was fun to do, and yeah, I love that set.
I mean, it's interesting with the high def cameras now as opposed to the film. A lot of times you do get warnings from people, don't overdo the aging and that kind of thing. But we actually got that warning for season 7 on the first hotel that we did.
Oh, right.
That she was in. That was supposed to be, a no-tell motel kind of thing that she was in, kind of thing. But then when I saw it on screen, I think it looked great. I don't think it looked too overrated at all.
No, I don't think it was too down at all, but I think it was down enough that you were like, why is she there?
Right, yeah.
I think that was, which is what we wanted, of like, she's starting on the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. She's starting all over again.
The progression of hotel rooms in season 7 really tells the story, I think.
It does. Well, we did 7 hotel rooms. Basically, started with one, revamped it to another, and just kind of kept building. And each one of them has a really pretty distinct look. And not to say that we didn't actually tear walls down and rebuild some walls and reconfigure and do some major overhauls.
Yeah. And And sometimes it was like day one, it was Selena's, and day two, it was Amy and, I mean, it was like
And Dan's,
and
yeah.
Dan's. So the next day, within 24 hours, we changed it over to a completely different set also.
Right, oh yeah, yeah.
So even in the versions, there's versions in it. That's how many times we had to redo hotel rooms this season. It's like that, and campaign offices this season was really, not really number one in our I think on our set list. Every episode was like campaign office, hotel.
Right, and it's a challenge to try to make those not different for different sake, but to give them some originality, because even though a lot of times all the same graphics and some set dressing is the same because it's fold out tables and chairs and all that sort of stuff. You want to give the bones of the set some sort of a different feel, which is kind of why I really like putting Jonah's in an old, defunct drugstore. For season 5, because it was just a really, it was a really different kind of feel.
I think too, for me this season, knowing that there was going to be a lot of campaign offices in all these cities, and doing the research of like, oh, this one has like the phone bank that with the old phones, or oh, this one, like, they really liked food, like they got a lot of food around, or this one, okay, they're balloon people. Like, for me it was like, what is distinct not only of the city, because there's only so many flags you can put up, or like my PA Kenzie making a ridiculous amount of posters of like Iowa or Ohio, and showing where we are, but just to give each one a different character also.
Right.
That's a challenge, because it's really, when you look at the pictures, it's weirdo desks, it's folding tables and chairs. These people are set up, it's a makeshift thing in every city. So it's nice to try to give them distinct little things, just to make them stand out a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Give them their own character.
Yeah. I'm going to just roll through the set list of episode 7, the finale of VEEP. And
how many are there?
I don't know. 18, I don't know. Hold on.
It was a big episode.
You count. I'll throw them out. So Selena's brownstone in the future.
Right.
The EEOB, the VP office, and the bullpen. The West Wing, Oval Office, and Sue's area. Selena's hotel room. CBS Fox Disney News Studio. Hospital room and hallway. Those were the perm sets. Now here comes our swing set list. Convention, stage floor, wings, hallway. Now that's one line. But that's
for a huge set. That's like Atlanta Burn.
Yeah. Okay. Convention, the concourse hallway. Convention, basement, skybox hallway. Convention, press conference, Kemi and Leon. Convention, press conference, Michael got cut off. Convention, Selena's skybox. Convention, stairs. Convention, meeting room, Furlong. Convention, CBS News coverage. That again, convention, CNN News coverage. Convention Center, the Jonah Rally. Convention Center, the loading dock. The Vibrary, I always say that wrong, and Crypt area. The Vajayberry. Convention, Jonah's War Room. Buddy's Convention Room, Skybox. News coverage, JFK bomber, Ryan Fever. And Jonah's mom's kitchen.
Wow.
Yeah. And
we did all of that.
And that is that's a normal, that's a big, now those are big sets. But that kind of is a normal rundown of sets that we usually, there's about that many sets in every episode.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's just the massive amount of dressing and the scope of this episode, and because it was the finale, that it is like, oh my God, okay, you have 5 days prep and you shoot for 9.
Right.
So.
And I lost count, but there's
Oh yeah.
a lot. There's a bunch. So.
Let's start a little bit about Selena's brownstone in the future. Originally, I was going to do this one.
Right.
Because I knew I was pregnant with twins, and I was due at the end of December-ish, and I thought, okay, well, to save us, I'm going to need help on the last episode. So I knew that all season, and I had very much glad that David Smith could pop in, because I think he's wonderful, and I think he has wonderful taste, and he was available, and it worked out. And so we had planned for him to start on the first day of prep of the last episode, which was November 28th. So, but I wasn't going to be due till December 21st. So plenty of time. It was going to be like, okay, last day shooting, I'm going to have them the next day. I got it all scheduled.
You had it all planned out.
This was going to work out perfectly. David was going to help out with a couple things. We had gotten a jump on the EEOB and the Oval Office because we knew that those were going to be in the last episode.
Right.
So I got a jump on those two sets and thought I'll also do Selena's. But I think what happened with the brownstone was that it needed a discussion of what is it going to be. The scene wasn't really written yet, and we didn't know exactly what the style was or what it was going to be, because on November 27th my twins decided to crash the party. And so I was like, I have a meeting tomorrow.
In true VEEP fashion.
Yeah, they VEEPed me. And
they did VEEP you.
So David started the 28th all by himself because I was I had babies 12 hours before. Sure. So poor David had to jump in really and into the deep end all by himself. So, but I was available by phone, whatever. But with Selena's brownstone, eventually you got information and we started on it, and I kind of started it, but I couldn't do it in that week. And then it got pulled up in the schedule was right. The reason I really couldn't get into it, because at first it was going to be on the last day, I believe, or right. Or second to last day. And I was like, oh, I can shop that, I can do it. But then it got pulled up, and I was like, sorry. I can't walk around.
Here you go, David. Have fun.
Yeah. So what was the style that you transitioned for that look?
Well, everything was supposed to be futuristic, or not futuristic, but in the future, by a number of years. But this was supposed to be Catherine and Marjorie's place now. And they've cut all ties with Selena. So that, she really has no family whatsoever. So it was basically redesigning it for Catherine's feel and look. And, in that scene, Catherine has freed up immensely, and she is, she's more, I want to say hippie-like, and, serving drinks at her mother's funeral on TV. Yeah. But as opposed to going all future and trying to make it look futuristic, I figured we would go into the past. So what I decided to do was go Art Nouveau with it. And so with the wallpapers and the wood tones and the mural on the wall, we went in the past, because I feel that, Catherine and Marjorie, it was still a very free-flowing,
I think that was so smart, because it's exactly them, not to be futuristic or not be on trend, but to do something a little different. And that style is so gorgeous. And now I associate with lesbians, really, now that you've done this. So
oh, great. That was not my intent.
Yeah. I'm like, you know what? He really tapped into something there. I think it's so curvy and everything. So yeah, I think it was a beautiful choice. You did some beautiful, was it the doors into the dining room?
Yeah, the doors into the dining, very Art Nouveau doors
Oh my
into
God,
the dining room.
gorgeous design on that, and the wallpaper was gorgeous, and yeah,
that was fun. It was fun to take that brownstone and just give it a whole other life.
yeah, and that brownstone served us well. I think it was a gorgeous set you made, and they loved to shoot in it. I think. I mean, they were really happy shooting in there, and honestly, it didn't go up till episode 6. We didn't have that, right?
Correct, because we didn't use it all season long, and it only came back for the finale. So
this season of VEEP, the only standing sets that we had was the hotel that you kept redesigning.
Correct.
We didn't have any others, right?
We had one little other swing set that was Mike's daughter.
Oh, right. Mike's daughter's bedroom,
and then we turned that into the Mike's motel room.
Right.
No-tell motel kind of thing, where he was doing his podcast from.
But other than that, it was builds on location and location work and small builds. Like you didn't put the oval up. You didn't put all of these sets up till the last episode.
No,
I mean, we really had empty stages for a lot of the season.
We did.
Jonah's mom's house came in, and then you built her kitchen.
Correct.
And that stayed up. But there really wasn't a lot on the stages, which is, that's a bummer. I mean, I love stage work too, because you get the time, a little bit more time to dress.
Oh, for sure. And, now that you mention it, I think about it, Mike was a really fun character to design for, too, because they put him in, I mean, like I said, we don't do funny sets, right? I mean, we do the most real thing we can, and then funny stuff happens. But, you can put Mike in like, last season, when his downstairs basement bedroom turned into 5 different things because of where he was in his life. So we got to have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun, Jim. I remember crying in the corner, looking up at the perms and thinking, God, why God? What have I done? Because that set had, I think, 4 or 5 different looks, and they shot it all on the same day, and went from the crew literally because we have 2 stages that are separated by 1 elephant door, and the crew would bounce back and forth. We would change over the set. They'd go next door. They shot a jail cell. They'd come back. It would be a different look. They'd go back and shoot. I forget what else was over there. And then they'd come back. And it happened 4 or 5 times. We had to do a changeover within an hour or whatever it was. And it was awful.
I didn't actually see you cry on that one. That's
yeah,
great.
in Marjorie's parents' house, which was set up right next to, which was a fun set, which was set right up next to Mike's basement set. I was sitting there thinking, like, oh my God, how am I?
Because it was on the reservation, right? Marjorie's parents' house was on the reservation.
I just couldn't. I was like, I have no time. You have no time. You put the dressing in, and you hope that it works. And I remember, like, hooks. But it's. I
mean, only one time it didn't, right? Should we talk about
all right.
About the nursery?
Yeah, I think we should. Let's talk about when things go wrong.
When things go wrong, yeah. So we had in our brain what this set was going to be. It was the nursery for Marjorie and Catherine's baby, correct? At the brownstone.
Yes.
And the writers wanted something kind of off the wall. They wanted the country colors to be gender neutral. And they just wanted it to feel like these 2 women were coming at this nursery from an odd place. So we built it. We dressed it.
I think there was a note, Scandinavian minimalist.
Scandinavian minimalist, yes.
I believe that was the note for dressing.
Right. So we built it, we painted it, we dressed it, and about an hour before it was supposed to shoot, the writer came to the set and said, "This isn't what we wanted at all."
I believe the exact words were, "I don't know what I want, but this isn't it."
Exactly. Those are the exact words.
And we were like, okay, well, all right, so what can we do and it was, I think you took on changing wallpaper out very quickly.
Changing wallpaper out, and apparently what they didn't know that they wanted was it to be even more bizarrely dressed and not Scandinavian.
They wanted Wednesday Addams nursery.
Exactly.
That was the note.
So in that hour, you sent the guys out and
in a rainstorm, and it was pouring rain.
We got African masks, and we got
those little cheeky dolls or whatever they're called. I forget, those little Indian dolls, and
we printed up wallpaper and put evil trees with bats on the wall.
They moved the scene. We had more than an hour. We had 2 hours, I think.
Oh, they gave us 2 hours. Yeah, that was nice of them.
They were like, okay, we'll shoot this other scene first. You have 2 hours. It never rains in LA. It was a pouring thunderstorm. I sent out 2 trucks and 2 buyers to 2 different prop houses. They sent me pictures on the stage. I de-dressed while they did that. They sent me pictures, and I just got in everything I could think of, like skulls or like
skulls,
electric chair as the sitting chair. Like, I just went really over the top, and we dressed it, and we looked at each other and we said, I hate it. I hate that. This is wrong. This is not. Yeah. This is not, these are women, they're not animals, they're having a baby. Yeah, right. Why would they have a medical table as a changing table? Like, it was so over the top for us. Because we're used to doing somewhat reasonable, normal things that grounded in reality. But this is the kind of way that they wanted to portray them. So, and then they walked back on set. Yes. And they're like, oh yeah, this is it. Nailed it. Nailed it.
Perfect.
And then I burst into tears.
And then you burst into tears. It's the only time I saw you cry in all of the seasons.
And I walked away because it was such a relief that we had done it, I guess. Yep. And such a, like, why did I just have to live those past 2 hours in this stress? We could have done this from the beginning. All you had to do was say Wednesday Addams Nursery. We take notes very well. And,
We get it with just a few words normally.
There's plenty of times that there's very, very minimal notes on sets, and we get it right. And there's definitely times like, oh, maybe just this one thing, take this out, or just I need this there, and stuff like that. But I think overall, with the amount of time and prep and everything that we were given on the show, and you before I came around I'm sure was the same deal, but you got it right enough.
No, for sure. I mean, that was really the only instance that I ever remember in 6 seasons where somebody walked on and said, yeah, this isn't right. This is not what we envisioned at all. So that's pretty good track record.
Yeah. I think it was 142 sets this season in 7 episodes, not even 10. So that's a pretty good track record. If it was, and I think the season prior was about the same. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Now the funeral scene and everything, can you talk about the design of her library and her funeral?
Well, season 6, I guess it was, we got to design the model of what her library would look like. And of course the joke was that, it looked like a vagina. And so it was called the Vagibrary. Yep. And that's all from the writers. I didn't do any of that. Yeah. So that was the first challenge, is to design the model of the space and images and 3D models of what the exterior of the place was to be. And then in the final episode, we actually get to go to her library, and part of which we did on location. Well, a good bit of it we did on location, but we added a lot of stuff to those locations to help it do it. And the crypt was probably one of the funnest designs to do, because it was supposed to resemble that anatomy.
Yeah, yeah. Subtly, but make sure we know what we're looking
yes.
at.
Subtly, yes, but that was somewhat of the joke, is that her coffin was being shoved. You get it. You watch it, I mean,
Yeah.
and you'll get it. I'm not going to try to, but so yeah, I mean, how many chances are you going to get to design a library? I mean,
or a presidential funeral. I mean, it's
exactly.
Yeah.
It was great fun. So, and what was also interesting about that is we got to bring in part of, the only bit of Selena's legacy was the fantastic dresses she wore, right? So,
the sleeveless
where her
dresses.
coffin is, you see all of these,
gorgeous
mannequins of all of this gorgeous wardrobe that she's had for years and years, and we got to bring all of that back. So, I mean, and then if I haven't tried to do this, but if you can, people should zoom in on that back wall where we had carved all of the donors to the library, and there are all kinds of Easter eggs, all kinds of funny people donated to her library.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah. Do you want to talk about how you did a convention in a week?
In 3 days.
In 3 days, yeah.
Yeah, the convention was at the Galen Center. It was a huge, it's a big basketball, arena basically. Part of that design we had to tie into even though Selena is not a Republican or a Democrat, they needed to be able to use footage from a real convention to be able to sell that there were that many people there. So what we did is we researched the various conventions, and we ended up using part of Hillary's convention, but not to steal that design. We added other stuff to it, and we kind of did a mixture of kind of things. But then they could take some of that footage and use it for some of the wide shots. But yeah, it was a monumental task. We had 3 days to set up the full stage, 100-foot stage, backing, video walls, grip and lighting, all of that. We also had 2 different news stations going on there. We had press boxes. It was just a huge undertaking, and we
huge
pretty
dress.
Much
huge construction, huge dress.
Yeah, big balloon drops. I mean,
I did that. I coordinated that. Okay.
But and in the end, I think it sold pretty well that we were.
Oh my God!
Convention.
Yeah, seamless. That footage is seamless from what they had to what you designed. Really seamless. I quickly want to ask you what you think about that debate stage the other night, the Democratic debate. Did you see the set?
I did. I think they should hire me to design.
Yes, I think you should. Well, my comment was, this is too bad for VEEP. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, this would never. This is so bad. It was crazy to me. I was like, wow, they don't give a shit. Like, they're just like.
Well, I think they do, but I also think that I will say that the debate set for our.
Your debate set this season was phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yeah, and I really love that set, but that was a set I kind of went in going, oh, no, not another debate. It was like, and it's like, and then I just kind of snapped myself out of it and said, look, you got to make this, good, but
it was gorgeous.
And so.
Which I think was episode 3, 703. I think.
Was it 3? Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was 3. Yeah.
No, gorgeous set. I mean, when you walked onto, you were like, "Oh my God, I'm on CNN! Like, this is crazy!"
Right, and that's part of. I can't copy designs, but I have to make sure if we're going to call it CNN and put CNN up there, we have to do it of the caliber of a CNN set. So that's the goal, and I just want it to be as nice as possible, kind of thing. So. So yeah, it was a fun set.
Yeah. What are you gonna miss the most about VEEP? Me? No.
That goes without saying.
Yes. Friday night drinks. Oh wait, it was VEEP. It was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, Friday night drinks.
Wine Friday, but I'll do Wine Friday no matter what show I do.
Yeah, so. Wine Fridays in the art department are a big thing.
just having done it for so many years, part of what I'm going to miss is just being so comfortable. It was like a comfortable suit or a nice pair of shoes that you love to wear. And I slept really well doing VEEP because I had confidence that I can do it. And every time you go to a new show, sometimes there's new people and all of that.
First day of school jitters.
Yeah.
Never goes away.
The nerves come back because you're working for new people and you hope it all works out. So I don't think that ever goes away. But yeah, VEEP was such a fun, comfortable show to be a part of, and I was so proud of it because I think the writing, the storytelling is just tops.
Absolutely.
And comedy's hard. And how often do you watch a comedy that you laugh out loud at? And I even laugh out loud at VEEP, and I know what's going to happen. So,
I don't know what's going to happen. I never knew. I was like, I read this episode 5 times. I have no idea how they cut it together. And wait, they didn't show that. And, oh, my babies are crying. Yeah.
My dog's been snoring, so if you hear that, that's what's going on.
Oh. Your dog's snoring, my babies are crying. I don't know where my husband is. It's cool. But I think with VEEP, as hard as it was, that it was, like you're saying, it was comfortable. Like, I just want to go back to my own craziness. I just want to go back to my own crazy world of VEEP.
You got used to, right?
Yeah, that you got used to. And doing VEEP half the year and then doing Good Place half the year, which is a complete opposite polar.
Oh, yeah.
You can't get any different. I don't know. Because it was an easier show. The look was different, but I would find myself being, a little bored. I mean, I had great sets to do on there too, but a little bored because of the pace and the anticipation. And then oh my God, okay, I'm ready. You wake up with the adrenaline running when you're on VEEP.
Right. No, it's and it never got easy. Not to say my comfortableness.
It never got easy. No, easy is not comfortable. No. It's. I think you've nailed it in saying comfortable. It's not easy.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you're taking time out of you only got 3 weeks left before you go back to work, so thank you.
I know. 3 weeks in the mountains, so I'll be chopping trees down and working on the barn, so.
And I will be seeing you at the Emmys. This is so exciting.
I know. I'm excited.
So exciting. What a big, adult geek party we get to go to. It's so awesome. It really is. It's the best party I feel as an adult besides my wedding. But it's such a great party that you're celebrating everyone in the room, even though only, a quarter of the people in the room are really happy. The rest of us, you're either drinking because you're happy or you're drinking because you're sad at that party. Right,
but everybody's drinking.
But you're still drinking and you're still having a good time either way. So
yes, definitely.
It is an honor, and it is a great thing to be a part of. So I'm excited. I will see you there.
Alrighty, I can't wait.
Yeah, thanks, Jim.
All right, go take care of them babies.
Yep. Bye.
All right.
Jim is such a Southern gentleman. He's a kind human being at his core, and his talents as a production designer under pressure are unmeasurable. I didn't think we were going to talk about Catherine's nursery, and it really does still bother me. I think mostly because it broke me down, and getting emotional in front of others isn't something I want to show. And it really wasn't the tears that the set was wrong. It was tears for a release that we had pulled it off right. I really hope that was the most stressful 3 hours of my career. And look, I know I'm not a brain surgeon. I know this wasn't a life or death situation. I can put that all into perspective. It's that my pride and maybe a bruised ego of getting it wrong, or that I only had a certain amount of time and resources to fix it, that was the pure stress. It was episode 608, and we had 19 sets. We had 3 sets that day. And yeah, the pressure of holding up camera is a constant fear. What that means is that the camera department, everyone is waiting on you to shoot. It's one of my worst fears. I'm going to have a bonus episode up next. Writer, director, producer Dave Mendel will be joining me. The man has been making you laugh on VEEP, Seinfeld, Saturday Night Live, Curb Your Enthusiasm, The Dictator, Euro Trip, many more. I've never seen a show run like VEEP. I've never asked him about Curb or Saturday Night Live, so I'm super excited he's going to be on the podcast to talk about design and comedy. And maybe we'll geek out about some Star Wars. Who knows? I hope you got an earful. I'm Kim Wanup for Decorating Pages. Decorating Pages is sponsored by Stogie Floaty, luxury pool floats. Float 'em if you got 'em. Visit stogiefloaty.com.